All right, Stu, go over the jobs report. It just came out today.
Yeah, they showed a gain of 73,000 jobs. This is not a particularly good number.
No.
I think you could look at it and say, when you examine it a little closer, it does show some pretty strange things. First of all, it seems almost all of the job gains are coming from the healthcare industry.
Makes sense.
And that is consistent over several months. In fact, there's a chart that shows the 6-month change of employment, and most of the lines are either flat or slightly negative. There's a couple industries that have slight growth: financial activities, leisure, and hospitality. But it's almost like one of those old COVID charts with jobs where you just see all these little lines, and then there's this giant line that careens off the screen almost. Private education and health services are the industries that are almost all the growth in the United States right now.
I'm so glad to hear that about private education. It shows that we are actively engaging in something that we know has failed us, and we're changing our lives as a people. I think that's good. The other thing, healthcare. I would love to know what parts of healthcare. Is that insurance, or is that like doctors and nurses? Do you have any idea?
I don't have the breakdown of that in front of me. I can look for it, though. It's probably in this data. I'm just kind of scanning through a bunch of the data.
Yeah.
It does show without healthcare jobs, we've, as a nation, have lost jobs overall for 3 straight months.
Wow.
Part of this was a major revision to the data, which showed a loss of 255,000 jobs from the 2 previous months that had already been reported. So a major negative.
What is wrong with this? Why can't they get this right? This is not that hard. This was happening, the last 4 years, much worse than that. And now it's happening again with this.
You're talking about just revisions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there have always been revisions. It does seem to be bigger lately.
Yes.
So you look at all that, and this is a largely just discouraging report, I would say, overall. But we're seeing in some of the prediction markets, odds for a recession are going up. However, what we're talking about as far as where they result is like 15 to 20%. Is what people are saying is a chance for a recession. So it's not a lot of times I think this stuff gets blown out of proportion and everybody's catastrophic or incredibly jubilant, right? Oh gosh, everything's working. We shut up all these economists. They were all wrong. I think what we're seeing now is it's probably too early to take a victory lap or, jump off a building.
Doom parade. I have to tell you, I think we should take a moment here and recognize, do you remember what the economy was like? 6 months ago, a year ago, everything was trending in the wrong direction. For us not to be in a recession at this point, I think is pretty remarkable, especially with the amount of changes that Donald Trump is making to some of the fundamental structures of America. Look at the job numbers and then the numbers of the people he has fired from government. When you're talking about reducing, for instance, the Department of Education by 50%, that is going to affect your job numbers. It's going to.
Yeah, and that's important to note as well, and that is in the data. The government jobs are down. Again, not to a point where it would outweigh some of the other stuff we're talking about, but it is down. We expect there to be more of that coming. And I think you can look at that and I think it is an important factor. It doesn't necessarily overwhelm the fact that these reports for jobs have not been positive. It doesn't overwhelm that because, again, to me and you, government jobs going away is a necessary thing. It might hurt the job number reports for a few months, but
that's what Carol Roth has been saying for months. Got to be careful. Don't want to move too fast on that.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yep, and I think you got to be careful. But I don't look at that as a situation that is needed. And I think Donald Trump does as well. So I don't look at that and say, okay, well, that's, I'm going to sit here and cry about government jobs going away. And it'll take time for people who've lost those government jobs to find their way in, in another industry. But it is an important part to note that is, a chunk of this picture.
So here's what I would really I'd like to try to reframe this in your mind as a listener, if I can. We have got to stop looking at everything through the lens of the glasses that we have always used our entire life, my entire life. You can look at job numbers and you can say, well, it's this or this, and we have to fix this, and this is growth, and this is not, and here's the growth industry. Honestly, we don't know what tomorrow holds anymore because of AI, because of this AI revolution that we are on the verge of. And I've told you this for years, but maybe it will start to make sense to you. Between now and 2030, that's 4 years. Now and 2030, there will be as much change to business and life itself as there has been for the last 400 years. So from the moment of the Enlightenment until today, that amount of change is coming in the next 4 to 5 years. And that's so huge, it's hard to believe or get your arms around, but that is true. So when we look at jobs, I mean, if I were looking short term and I'm 20 and I'm like, okay, what do? I learn how to weld. I learn how to build. I learn how to get involved in building power plants and server farms because I know that's an industry that is going to grow in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be nonstop growth. And AI is not going to be able to take over an actual build yet. Maybe in the 10 years, maybe, but not right away. So it's going to take labor. If I'm looking to do something in labor, that's the kind of labor I'm looking at. But when you're going to school, what do you go to school for? Healthcare, and I'm telling you, being a doctor is getting harder and harder. You don't necessarily, make the kind of money that you used to because you've got this gigantic bill you're paying off. And it's very frustrating. And I believe within 10 years, I think easy in 10 years, there's going to be so much growth on AI that your job as a doctor will be more of hand holding, than anything else. I mean, you still for a while will be doing surgery, but if you're a doctor, you should be doing robotic surgery right now. You should be leading the movement in robotic surgery, to be able to do what you do faster and better and using new technology. In healthcare, I think the growth, and I could be wrong, I don't know anything about healthcare, just trying to understand. Let me say it this way. What is the biggest problem our kids are dealing with right now? They're dealing with nothing having meaning. And they're dealing with whether they know it or not, they're dealing with these problems because they don't have real human connection anymore. Okay. They're talking to each other all the time, but it's all on, it's all on text. They're not relating. And when you're sick, there comes a time that you're going to need human interaction, and you're going to be monitored by all kinds of AI devices and everything else, and you're in the hospital, whatever. You may not have a lot of nurses because AI will be doing all of the grunt work, if you will. But there's going to come a time where nurses are so important because they're your human connection. You need to look somebody in the eye who's human that can hold your hand. The empathetic things are going to be growth industry. And I'm not sure I even know what this is. I'm just thinking about these things out loud. But sending your kid into college right now to be an accountant, again, this is not my area of expertise. So take it for what it's worth. But I would reconsider. If you're going in for law, I would reconsider. Already, the law clerks, those jobs are gone. Those jobs are gone or quickly going away because you can get AI to do so much. you're going to need somebody to argue cases, but you're not going to need somebody that needs to go through, you know, go through all of the records, all of the law, check, can you read this contract and check this contract to make sure it's right? AI is already doing most of that. You just don't necessarily know that, but the attorneys do. You're going to school, and in this time, it might be better until we know what's coming to focus on trade, to focus on trade schools. For instance, building, welding, healthcare, things that you can do even temporarily, or honestly, things that make you more empathetic. Instead of building debt for a world where you just don't know what's going to be. I mean, honestly, accounting, it's the machine's going to do it. A machine is going to do it. It's just the way it is. You're going to need the personal interface, but this large pool is not going to be needed, and everything is going to change. So when you're looking at these job numbers, what we should be talking about is that these numbers may actually be good looking back 3 years from now. So when I say we're going to look back and say these jobs, these job numbers were a dream come true, what I mean is as AI becomes stronger and stronger, there are going to be other jobs. I don't know what they are yet. There are going to be other jobs that grow that we may not be thinking about right now. That's why I wouldn't rack up debt to go into accounting or law. But be careful with your debt because those jobs may be gone. Other jobs will be created, but there's going to be this massive overturn of jobs and lots of job losses coming. If you're going, what we should be teaching our kids right now is not, our entire education system is built on this is going to be on the test. Hey, write this down because this is going to be on the test. Why are tests so important right now? Why? Why is that memorization stuff of dates and names so important? Because this system was created to get you to follow rules. Can you follow rules? Can you do what you're asked to do? This is going to be on the test. Write this down and remember this. Okay? It's not taught to teach you to think outside of the box. It's teaching you to remain in the box. All right? That was important in 1950, 1970, even maybe 1990. It was important that you could assemble a car, that you could stand in line, you could do these things, okay? But that's not what's going to be important in the very near future. We're not talking 20 years down the road. We're talking 5 and 10 years down the road. What's important is not what to think, but how to think. How to think. They were teaching us how to get a job, how to work in these industries. You need to teach your kids now, and they need to be learning, and you need to learn how to think, how to question, because this system that we have built is built for an old era. We're in a time period. Think of what it was like between 1850 and 1930. That's the span of somebody's lifetime. Think about what they saw. My father said to me, he was born in 1926. Glenn, when I was growing up, we never thought about going to the moon. That wasn't even a possibility. And he said, now we're on the moon, we're in space, we have computers. Think of that. That's the kind of stuff that is going to happen in 5 years. You will go from that kind of change. That happened over the lifespan of my father. This is going to happen in really the time your kids are going to go to school or graduate school. It'll all be different, and it will continue to change. We have to have the conversations of no debt, not for education. Stay out of debt. Do you have any usable skills? Can you fix things yourself without having to get somebody else to do it? You look at some of the things that is happening with Generation X. They are teaching themselves by using YouTube. They're teaching themselves how to fix a sink, how to do different things, and they're doing it really kind of out of entertainment in a way. A lot of them are just watching, and you're like, you don't have a sink. You don't own a sink. What are you doing? I don't know. I just find this fascinating. I think that's because there is a call now to real things and real work and doing things with your own hands, usable skills, critical thinking. And the last thing that we should be encouraging our kids to explore and learn is anything about meaning. Meaning is going to be, it's already crisis level. That's why our kids are killing themselves. They don't have meaning in life. They don't know how to find meaning. That has been a lifetime struggle for most of us, but it is a critical situation for our kids. So no debt, usable skills, critical thinking, and meaning. That's what we should focus on for the future.